All right, guys. Thanks for hopping on the Titan team training call here. We got a super special guest. I want to get right into it. We got Hayden Hill here. Hayden, do we got you?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, bro. I appreciate you taking time to hop on this call. Well, first off, congrats. Recent partner with Integrity, you and Nina. It's awesome feature, very inspirational. So congrats to you there. I wanted to get you on here because what you and Nina have been doing has been pretty incredible. And, watching you guys for the past couple of years, it's inspiring. So I'm sure you got a lot of good stuff going on, and I want to just kind of pick it, break it down and kind of ask some questions about it. So first, for people that may not know you, can you just give, everybody a little intro on who you are, where you came from?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been selling life insurance for a little over 5 years now. I always tell people, kind of like the insurance industry found me. I didn't get the luxury of a lot of new people that kind of like got to compare companies and like see like high comp, low comp, leads, renewals, all that kind of stuff. So a company kind of found me. I was looking for something to do out of almost finishing up at in Arizona State with college, and I just wanted something that I could make good money with. And for me, it was funny. Like I think when a lot of people are like 20, 21-year-old kids, when they're trying to search for a career, they really want something stable. That was like my buzzword when I was like 20 years old. I wanted to find something stable. And so I found out about renewals and residual income with the insurance industry. And, one of my friends' dads built a insurance business with another company and talked about how he retired and he still had like a monthly, residual renewal aspect. I thought it was super cool. So I got licensed. It took me 3 times to pass my exam. I almost gave up and didn't get my exam because the third time I missed it by one question and I wanted to just be done. I'm like, this isn't meant for me. So I passed it finally. And then, pretty much similar setup here. I think we all are, you recruit and you train and you sell insurance. And so that's what I did for 3 years as a captive agent. Wasn't really working out too good for a lot of the agents that I worked with on my team. And, basically I was kind of like, well, I didn't know really about FFL yet. And so I kind of thought, if this is the model of insurance, like, I don't really think it's for me, and it's certainly not for my team. And so I actually kind of left the industry briefly, got into, different sales gig, and basically Nina started full time with FFL, kind of like I have nothing to lose. If the comp's a lie, then I can always go back to getting a regular job. And then quickly found out that guess what? The comp wasn't a lie. It was the best thing ever, and it was legit, and it was just insane what you could do with all these carriers and leads and all that kind of stuff. And so basically started selling part-time. And then after a few months, I'm like, you know what, it's time to quit my job and go full-time. COVID also had a big impact in it. And it was really cool to see that you could sell over the phone or in person. And with, I don't know, I think pretty much everyone with COVID actually grew the business a ton for us, just because people really were thinking about death and mortality. And, that's kind of where we're at now. So.
Cool. So, now, because you came from before at the previous company, were you doing in-home or was it a lot of over the phone there?
All in home. Yeah. So I didn't start doing like over the phone until a few months into FFL.
Sure. Okay. So I want to break a couple things down because you and Nina are both Hall of Fame producers, right? Did you do it 2 times or how many years?
One time.
One time. Okay. So Hall of Fame producer, you know how to sell. And a lot of that was in home, a little bit of both. Okay. So, and also a Hall of Fame agency. And I want to talk about that towards the end, but I want to break down, if you had a brand new agent or you were just getting started, like today, full-time, right? Can you break down how to get yourself to between, 20, 30 policies a month, right? But what that schedule needs to look like as a full-time agent to get yourself helping 20, 30 a month to be actually profitable in this business.
For sure. Yeah. So for me, that was a struggle when I first started. I always tell people like the system we have is very duplicatable. It's very simple. The sales process, like, man, if you haven't been with another insurance company, you should see like their sales process and how difficult and like arm twisting and like you have to be like Grant Cardone, like just a quick talker, smooth thinker on your feet. And so the sales process here actually is very easy. It might be the easiest in the whole insurance industry because it's almost like I always tell people it's almost like customer service. Like it's pretty fairly simple. So the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing for new agents that I always it's the one thing you have to get right is your lead flow and your schedule. 9 times out of 10, when new agents come in, if they struggle, that's why. It's because they don't have the proper schedule and they don't have enough leads. So for me, that was my mistake. When I first started, I was the guy that was trying to spend $300-400 a week in leads to get to 20, 30 policies a month, and it just wasn't happening. And you hear all the time on these training videos, and it's like, you don't have to start at 1,000 a week, but get up there and then get above that. I mean, I wouldn't think that Kiefer or Evan or any of the guys or gals on this call that produce a lot, they definitely don't just spend a couple $100 a week in leads. It doesn't work that way. So for me, I had to figure it out and kind of build up to that. And then the other thing was my schedule. So I think that's super important. So whether you're in home or all over the phone or a hybrid, you have to get a schedule. So for me, my mistake when I started is I thought that I could run 5 days a week. So to give you an idea what that looked like is I would book appointments on Monday, and then Mary would say when I talked to her at 2 p.m., hey, I can't do this week, but I can do I can do today at 6 p.m. And so, figuring out the schedule, I'd be like, okay, great, let's do 6 p.m. Well, what would happen is I would drive across town at 6 p.m. during rush hour, and I would either get no-showed or maybe I made the sale or maybe I didn't. But I just robbed myself of like 3 hours of dial time that should have been reserved for Tuesday, Wednesday. And so for me, when I was running in-home, it was simply just Monday and Thursdays were dial days, and I would not run appointments. I didn't care if they had to move to the next week, that was fine. Monday and Thursday is non-negotiable. I'm not going in the field. So Monday and Thursday, the dial on Monday for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for Friday, Saturday. And then in terms of, selling over the phone, the model is cool because, there's a lot of people on our team that sell Monday through Friday, and that's their deal. Some work on the weekends, but that was my biggest thing is you have to find your schedule, and you just have to, whether you're full-time or part-time, be able to dedicate enough time to being in front of clients or being on the phone with clients. Because if you don't have that time cut out, it's just not going to work trying to do both at the same time.
So let's start with like a lead flow. So if an agent's wanting to start in home full, get your 25, 30 appointments a week in person, what do you recommend for an agent to get to that point, to get enough leads? Like what types of leads are you, looking at? CRM, third parties, mail? I mean, what are you seeing that's working and that you like?
Yeah. So for in person, what we do a lot of is we do a lot of internet. And we do a lot of 1 through 3 months, mortgage or final expense. Now, if someone comes in, they don't have that much money. For me, I'm just like, hey, like, I don't think mail is a good idea when you're starting out. And I really don't like even those like $30 final expense leads. I'm like, well, if you only have $300 or, $400 to start with leads, which that's a lot of new agents, like none of us came to FFL, or most of us didn't, with a ton of money. And so like, I don't think a new agent having 15 final expense leads on if that's all they can afford, is going to give them a fair shot to win. So for me, I'm like, dude, if you only have a couple $100 to start, that's fine, but we need to get as many leads as possible. So whether that's $1.50 mailers, whether that's 3-month internet leads, it doesn't matter. And then vice versa for over the phone, we pretty much only run internet leads over the phone. We started to do live transfers. Some people like them, same kind of ideology of like, dude, $60 to $100 for a live transfer. It's a lot of money. If it works for you, awesome. But for us and the way I feel, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather just buy internet leads and dial through them, because for $3 to $11, that's essentially what a live transfer lead is anyway. It's just you're getting someone on the phone. And so that's kind of our motto. After that point, after a few weeks or a few months, once someone's built up a good enough cash flow, if they want to experiment with mail, then 100% get on that. But I think with us, with having, especially like, we have a lot of agents in like certain areas where a lot of us run over the phone now instead of in person. But before over the phone, it was impossible. to have that many agents running, you know, Facebook final expense, mortgage protection mail, final expense mail. It just, there wasn't enough leads. And so with the internet leads, it made it so we literally had like almost like an infinite amount where we could really scale the business faster.
Sure. So what does, because I think like a lot of people come into it and they see the virtual side, they see the work from home, the work remote, and they think it's kind of easy, it's cute, kind of stay at home, do whatever. But like when you get on the phones, I mean, like you got to be on the phones, right? Can you kind of give, you know, a proper expectation to, you know, some agents that do want to experiment over the phone, telesales, kind of what that needs to look like, and also the learning curve in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a huge learning curve. It's way different than selling in person. It's way different than booking appointments for in person. And so you have to like have a dialing software. So we use Phone Burner. I know there's a couple out there, but like you definitely need to have that, especially when you're running internet leads, because you have to have enough contacts with people. We definitely go for right now appointments. So we're not trying to book, you know, later on that night. We're not trying to book the next day or 2 days later, because, you know, the pros and cons of selling over the phone, you know, it's more convenient. You can get more dials in, but there's going to be a higher no-show rate typically with over the phone versus in person, because if someone forgets about an in-person appointment, you're at their house. Like if they're home, what are they going to do? Like you're going to do the appointment, but over the phone, they can just not answer. And so that's super important, those right now appointments. And then besides that, it's a different beast compared to dialing in person. You have to dial all day. Now, like there's a lot of people on your team and their thing is like, hey, I'm gonna dial till I get like 2 or 3 deals for the day. And then if I want to keep on going, awesome. But you have to give yourself a chance to do that literally all day if that's what it takes.
Right. Okay. And you're saying a lot of people are using 1 to 3 month old internet leads on that.
Yeah, 100%.
And just get them across the country wherever you can, pick up different licenses, things like that.
Yeah, you know, we focus on a lot of the bigger states like the Texas and the Florida, just because there's more leads there. And then also we have a lot of people on the East Coast that literally dial East Coast, Central, and then West Coast. And then even some people on the West Coast that'll wake up super early and they'll just do reverse East Coast East Coast, Central, and then West Coast. And, you know, either way you want to do it, you can, just as long as you get enough contacts and appointments in. With over the phone, you just have to realize your close ratio is typically going to be lower, and so is your appointment ratio.
Sure.
So maybe if you're used to running in person and doing 20 appointments a week, well, you're probably going to need at least 30 appointments or 35 to be able to have those same results, just, you know, knowing your numbers and how things are going to work out.
And when you say appointments over the phone, are you talking, actually, let's take a step back. So what are some of the things that you do, or that your team does to solidify and actually book appointments over the phone and get people to actually like consider an appointment? Like some tie downs, some, you know, some word tracks, like what are some things like that?
Yeah. So basically what we try to do is like right now. So, hey, you know, super important, takes 5 to 10 minutes. You know, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and a pen. You know, we can get this knocked out for you, and basically just try to do it right then. If they can't do it right then, we want to do it very shortly after that point. So maybe, you know, 30 minutes later, an hour later when they're at home, maybe right when they're off work, something like that. That's been the best way to be able to actually tie it down. And then something else that works for us is basically we have our state license. Like if you go on like NIPR.com, like your app, you can have all your state licenses. And so same thing, I think just making the clients feel more comfortable. What we'll do is basically when we get them on the phone is we'll send them a text with an image of our state license, whatever state they're in. And then, you know, also our phone number and our email. That way they have everything and they're more comfortable. Because the way that I think about it is like if someone called me, I would probably be a little bit speculative of like, who is this Thai guy calling me saying he's legit. If you send me your license, I feel a lot more comfortable. And then from there, when you get to things like, you know, social security number, bank information, beneficiaries, and like more personal stuff, I'm cool with it because I know that you're a professional. But if I don't see any license, I feel like that's a lot of the time when people are like, no, I have to think about it. Like, I'm just not comfortable. And then at that point, you're kind of just trying to backpedal because you should have already sent your license to show them, you're legit.
Right. Okay, cool. That's impressive though. So what are so in terms of, I just want to talk a little bit about like your actual in-home appointments, because, like you said, knock out the credibility, show them why you're there, what you do. But what are some of the things that allowed you to sell at such a high level when you were in person with people, in terms of like the structure and, your process throughout the appointment?
I think maybe a couple of things. I like to try to keep it simple for them. I like to, be friendly, but not too like I'm not like I'm not super like extremely stern, and I'm not like too friendly. I'm like kind of in the middle. We're like, hey, I'm gonna like, we're cool. Like I'm getting to know you, I like you, whatever. But like we got to get this done now. Like I'm not coming back. We're not waiting. You filled out a request. Like it would be weird if we didn't get you insurance unless you can't qualify, and we're gonna try to get you something. And so that was always my mentality. And then the biggest thing for me is like I got better as I started doing more appointments with closing. But I always try to keep my activity super high. So like I was like when I was in the field, I was like a psycho about activities. So I would be, if I got no show, that's fine. I'm going to the next appointment. And when I'm going to that next appointment, I'm either dialing, texting, or I'm dropping by. Like that was for me when I was in the field, I was a big drop by guy, and I got a lot of sales from doing that, because I would basically be like, hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you forever. Not sure what's going on. I stopped by. I actually have an appointment in 30 minutes, but we got to get this taken care of because this is like the last shot. And I would really try to get that done now. But for me, I don't think I was like great at closing or great at like my in-home's the same. Like, people on the call, probably, they sell more than I did. They have probably better in-homes than me. But my activity, I always just tried to make sure I was super busy and always, either in the home with someone, booking the next appointment, texting the next appointment, something like that, just to get more.
Cool. So in terms of, so we have our insurance license, right? We have the ability to sell, the ability to recruit. I think a lot of people, at least even, when I first started, I was just like, I'm just going to sell, right? Because I can make enough. I know how to sell. I can do this enough to make enough money to provide, right? But I think a lot of people don't use the full license, right? And obviously you and Nina are killers with recruiting and growing and things like that. So can you kind of just give your 2 cents on using your license to its fullest potential in terms of, for one, serving as many people as possible, but then also the monetary value of using it properly?
Yeah, for sure. So I always tell people like we have the comp plan that Sean made. And if you're only selling, you're only using literally half the comp plan. Actually, it might be less than half if you really run the numbers and you see how much money you can make from building and the bonus and integrity and stuff like that. So you're only using half of the comp plan, where you have the other half. And so of course, when you're starting out selling, that's how you survive. That's how you fuel your business. But long term, you really kind of want to be like in that second half of building the business. So for us, we didn't have any crazy like, staff or crazy, recruiting bills or anything like that. Basically, the way we did it essentially is we just try to sell as much as we can. So we invest in the leads. We were super active. We didn't, the virtual thing wasn't fully there when we were selling yet. And so like last year we went on like 100 plane trips each, doing travel trips, like, meeting with new agents, doing BDMs, whatever. But the biggest thing for us besides selling was just literally being obnoxious and putting everything on social media. And so, like I'm looking at your team right now and it's like, you guys are all like sharp, pretty relatively young people. And so the thing with us is like, yeah, everything works a little bit. And so the job boards and that kind of stuff, that will work. And I can name a million people that came from, jobbing.com and Monster and stuff like that. But like I've ran these like almost like a test run for the last 5 years. And it's the same thing in my practice company, same thing here. Same thing with like every single company. Is it just like with social media, there's so much power in the duplication and almost following the journey, where it's like, I can't document my journey on jobbing.com or monster.com. I can't show my journey on anything like that I can show it on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or YouTube or something like that. I think people like that. And I think also, like, FFL is the industry disruptor, but I think also we're breaking the stigma of what the insurance business is, and how much money you can make and how fulfilling it is and what you can do. Because like, if you would ask me 5 years ago, like, what is the insurance, like selling life insurance, I would imagine like a old man in like a white, button down shirt with oversized khakis, like the State Farm guy, and he would have a clipboard, and it would be super boring. And I'd be like, dude, why would I ever want to do that? But I think especially with FFL, like, dude, what we do is pretty cool. Like the money we can make a lot of impact. Like, it's really like, the story, I forgot where it was, Ty, but I think it was you and Evan. Like, dude, that was awesome. I'm like, dude, when you can recruit your friends in the business and you guys can partner and both make a huge income and a huge impact and like do that, like, dude, that's what FFL is about. Like, it's actually really cool. And so, and I think also with the job market, not being able to be your own boss, a lot of the time these days, and having, all these restrictions, and you're not in control of your destiny. For us, it was like, dude, let's show one, the selling side, two, let's show the building side. And we just showed it so much that I think people finally started to realize like they were our friends, or like just started following us. Like, dude, this is pretty cool. Like, they look like they're having fun. They look like they're having, making a good income. I'm going to ask them about it. And then from there, it just kind of started like a huge duplication effect. And the cool thing about doing it on social media and recruiting on social media is everyone that we hired was already trained to recruit on social media. And what I mean by that is because they got recruited on social media, they've probably been watching posts and watching videos for weeks, if not months, maybe if not a year or more. And so when they came in, they already understood the fact of how it worked. And so it's just so much easier to get that person to build a team versus someone that may not understand or get the vision of why to build a team or how to build a team, because they didn't get recruited that way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's good stuff, dude. Sweet. I know I got a couple guys that have a couple questions. I'd like to open up. Or Connor, I know you said you had one. Let me unmute you quick.
Yeah. Hey, Hayden. First off, congrats on the integrity partnership for you, Nina. That's awesome, especially the speed that you guys did it at. I was just wondering if you could take a minute just to talk to kind of like the integrity effect and, what that has done for you and Nina individually, and then also all your agents and managers that are in your agency, like how that's going to affect their growth, and then also like how it set both of you guys up and your future family, just put you guys in an incredible position. So if you could just talk a little bit on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So, a few things, like it's obviously cool, like the monetary stuff. That wasn't as much, I think, as like, I think it's really cool for your staff. So like our staff, being able to be in the employee ownership program and they're able to participate in things like stock, like that's incredible. Things like, both our staff, actually, our first staff, she's amazing. She just turned 26 like a few days ago. And she was like, hey, like, do I need to go get my own health insurance, or like, will Integrity provide that? And like, she can have the best health insurance with Integrity, and it's pretty affordable. So that's something really cool. Job security for your staff. Like Sean always talks about, if me and Nina got in a plane crash or a car crash tomorrow and died, well, our staff, like, they're out of a job, versus now they're employees of Integrity. If something happens to us, like the show is going to still roll on without us, and they're still going to manage the business and be staff. So that was really cool. I think for us, I would sell insurance to the day I die if I could. I love it. And so for me, it kind of like forced me to only be able to recruit and train. Same thing with Nina. So we get to really focus on what we do best, and, the building aspect and the duplication for our agents. So that's really going to help our managers and our agents better. And then I think maybe the biggest thing, man, is I think that a lot of people, it's hard to see themselves. I know for me, when I was starting out, it was hard to see myself as a new agent getting to a logo and VP and board member. And then and like when I started, was integrity like a cool thought? Yeah, it was cool. Like I didn't really believe I could ever get there. Especially I built an insurance, an agency for 3 years, my previous company. And I'm like, there's no way I can get to that much a month to be able to, be where I could get an integrity partnership. So I think showing that it's real to the team where they're fired up and they're like, okay, now I get why, I should sell so much. Now I get why I should post on social media. Now I get why I should work on the weekends to like really show that it pays off. That's probably the coolest thing, because in the last like week or so, I've seen like meeting and we're just talking about after our agency call. We're like, dude, like this guy's so fired up now. He just, invested in this social media thing. This gal just hired a staff. Like people are stepping up now because I think it's more real for them. And they realize, you know what, I'm closer than I thought I was before. And so just seeing that kind of inspire them and get the ball rolling fast. So that's probably been the coolest thing.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that.
Cool. All right. Kiefer, let me unmute you.
Yeah, so Hayden, just to piggyback kind of on what he said, I mean, I think what you said is so true. Like a lot of us, I think, well, at least for myself, it seems like almost unattainable to get it. Like, obviously I'm still striving for it and stuff like that, but are there things that you two focused on like daily, monthly, weekly, whatever it might be to kind of get you there, like to like ramp up your focus? Because I think it's hard when people are also like in the field to also focus on recruiting and things like that when you're doing it all yourself. And they always talk about like recruit yourself, you're the best recruiter. So kind of how you guys like manage to do both.
For sure. I think for us, I wish we'd have hired our first staff like 2 or 3 months earlier, even though we weren't exactly ready at that point, but it would have helped us grow faster and kind of get some of the things we didn't want to do off our plate. So that's probably it. So maybe increase your staff's pay, maybe hire another staff to do some of the things you don't want to, because really like, especially like you can sell like crazy. It's your level. I think that the two things you're probably best at is selling and recruiting. And so anything else that doesn't revolve around that, like study vouchers and like, chargebacks and calling clients for things and anything like that, it takes away from your focus. I would like get rid of that and delegate that and do what you do best. You can sell so much. It's like, imagine an extra couple hours a week of you selling, like your ROI is so much higher doing that stuff. So that's what I would say. And then just on like, I always say it, but like social media, just being like rabid about it and posting everything and talking to people. And like, if people probably think that like knew us from before, they're like our friends or family, like they probably thought it was annoying, but it's just so important because the duplication effect it can have. And I always tell people like your first, getting to your logo, getting to VP, getting to, EVP, SVP, that's the hardest because you're kind of like laying the bricks of the foundation and you're starting to find, top writers and like managers and like business partners. But kind of like once you get to that, like, 500 families a month, 400 families a month or so, that's when from there, like you blink and then you're a board member and you just start growing like crazy because you built that foundation that might have took a while, but once you got it, it grew really fast from there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Got it.
Now, Hayden, what so you said first staff, like what do you, if you got a new agent that's looking to scale this thing, make this real business, when do you want people, or when do you think it's best to actually hire someone, a staff member, but then what are they doing for you?
Yeah. So I think it depends on the financial situations, but what I tell people is like once you're close to the logo, at that point it's probably time to get a staff. Now, if you have a little bit of money to play with when you start, would I recommend having a staff? Yeah, it's not going to hurt. It's going to help. But for us, what our first staff started doing is basically she started doing all the study vouchers, all the contracting, all the, comp raises, everything like that. She started doing things like, kind of like admin work that we didn't want to do, client follow-up. So like if there was a bad bank or like a chargeback or like anything like that, she would check it. And then, as you progress, like for us, what that looks like is, from there, we, hired on, someone that did images and someone that, was dialing when we were sort of running appointments in the field just to kind of free up some of that time. And then our third hire was basically just kind of like a media person that basically, did the YouTube channel and did a bunch of took pictures and videos and made memes and stuff like that. But your first staff, I think, and it might be different for like, I personally didn't mind dialing the phone. Some people hate it. And so your first staff, I would say the most important thing they can do for you is whatever you hate and whatever you don't want to do. And then whatever you're best at, try to get your staff to do the stuff that you hate and you don't want to do. So you can just focus on those like 2 or 3 things that you're really good at and just give yourself way more time to do those things.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you for that. So Austin, Takala, unmute.
All right, hey Hayden. So understand like the social media recruiting and whatnot. So when you guys first started, like what are like obviously you're posting like crazy, but also it's like what are really getting people to really get intrigued, or like you were direct messaging people, like kind of like just explain that very beginning process, because that's obviously all free.
Yeah, 100%. So it was different on social media versus more like LinkedIn. And so like LinkedIn was more like professional, kind of like recruiter, like kind of write at them messages like, hey, are you keeping your options open? Like this is what we offer. We're looking for sales agents, stuff like that. Versus the Instagram and Facebook stuff was kind of more like just basically getting in front of people. It was a lot of messages, especially at the start. Now it's more, we're getting more messages inbound than we are sending outbound, I'd say. But like, dude, at the start, like for like 3 or 4 months, I was kind of just like, I was almost like Nina's like recruiter when we were first starting. And like, we pretty much got to VP like strictly on LinkedIn, like just random people that we didn't know, cold messaging, adding a ton of people. But then on social media, and we still do the same thing we did when we started, like what we're trying to portray is just basically things about FFL, motivational stuff, stuff that's cool, like traveling. A lot of people don't get to travel, just basically to trying to get people to kind of like be intrigued, to be like, dude, what are these guys doing? They look like they're having fun. What is this thing? I think also like you kind of want to break down, because we're all licensed insurance people. So we get what comp is, we get, how much you can get paid up front, like renewals, but take yourself back to when you weren't licensed. You didn't know any of that. You didn't know what a residual was. You didn't know what a renewal was. You didn't know what an advance was. You didn't know what back end was. And so I think if you can kind of try to also break it down for those people that are like interested, but they just don't understand what everything is, and talk about more like in terms of simple terms, that'll get people to kind of break the stigma of like insurance is, like a boring, like, foreign thing I don't know about. So like, oh, this is actually just a really cool, like sales job that, I can actually do because now I understand it.
Cool. Appreciate that. All right, we got one more here. Evelyn, I'm gonna unmute you right now.
Hey, Hayden. I was just curious what your specific things that you look for when you're looking to hire a staff.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest one, or a couple of big ones is, one, you can trust them. That's super important. 2, they have to be a hard worker. Besides that, I think that we can teach them, how to do their job and help them. Part of it also is letting them, it's like a fine balance between like, you don't want to micromanage, but you don't want to be, hands off. And so also letting them kind of figure out their role. It's really cool to like see them get better and like have ideas, but like you have to trust them, because you have to trust them to be, working when they should and be responding to agents and doing what they should. And then, Also I think talking to them about the long-term vision. So, someone that might just be a staff, they might just kind of be thinking about the hourly wage they're getting. But if you talk about and you kind of motivate them, we're lucky because we work with Grady Polson. He taught us kind of like, hey, come out with we have a comp plan, kind of come up with like a comp plan for your staff. So show them what it looks like with their pay and their bonuses when you hit your logo, when you hit VP, when you hit board member, and kind of motivate them by that. Show them what it looks like when you write 30, 40 families a month protection. And so I think if you can also do that, it gets them to really work hard and buy in to hey, I want to do this. And also don't get it twisted. For them as a staff, they get an integrity employee, they get stock, they get 401k, they get a lot of nice, cool benefits and perks that regular jobs and non-private equity stuff would have. And so I think also kind of talk to them about that. It's a really good opportunity for them. And I think it'll push them to kind of work those extra hours, be more there when they're working and really be more motivated to grow the volume rather than to just clock in and clock out Monday through Friday.
And thank you so much for that. When you are getting those results, when all of that communication is displayed, but the results aren't there for say 2, 3, almost 4 months, what do you do from that point?
Got to get rid of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to have an honest conversation, but I think it's just like any other job. If the team's not growing and they're going backwards, then what are they doing to contribute to the team? And so I think maybe you have 1 or 2 honest, just straight up conversations with them. It's no hard feelings. It's just, we got to grow the volume. And it's coming out of my paycheck. We got to grow the volume. And it might take a few staff to go through to find the one, just like it might take a few agents to find a really good agent. It's the same thing. But just like Sean always puts it, he's pretty harsh, but it's true. You have to grow the volume. Otherwise you can't just be there to do nothing,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate that, man. Some good stuff. Hope everybody got a lot from that. All right, and then I got one more for you, Hayden. So let's say we get a new agent starts out, in an area that, leads are a little bit scarce, or it gets very competitive, saturated, whatever it is. What are you kind of recommending in terms of do you have anybody that does travel trips anymore in your team?
Yeah. So that's basically, it would be 1 of 2 things. Either A, you got to travel, or B, you need to either mix in over the phone or just go to all over the phone. So there's some people it's funny, our team really likes virtual, but a lot of our team really likes in person. So it just depends on who you are. If you like one and you hate the other one, do the one you like. But yeah, that's really it. Either you travel and you do travel trips. I love travel trips because you really get to do a lot of activity in a short amount of time, and you're really just hardcore focused. Or that's a really cool thing about now in terms of scaling, in terms, especially of an agency. That's really cool. It doesn't matter where you live. I think you can even live in Puerto Rico very soon if you want to. And you can literally sell in any state you want to. And because of that, there'll never be a shortage of leads. There's never saturation because you can literally work in any state. And so that would be 1 of 2 options essentially.
Makes sense. Well, cool. If you got anything else that we really didn't talk about that you want to throw in here for these guys, that'd be awesome. We can wrap this thing up. I know you're busy.
Yeah, no, that's about it. It's just, selling a bunch of insurance and then recruiting people and just duplicating and plugging them in and training them. This thing can happen really fast. And yeah, you guys are a great team, and I'm excited to see what you guys will do. I'm also going to put in here for you guys. We've known this guy for a long time. We put it in the VP chat for you guys that are VPs, but that's the social media guy we've worked with for a long time. And he's very knowledgeable. He's built teams in a bunch of different industries. And so the thing I like about him is he's not just a techie social media guy. He actually has built teams and recruited and trained people. So he kind of gets how it's very similar to our system. And so if you guys want to check him out, he's doing a couple different packages to basically get your social media up and running or give it a boost if you need that.
Cool. Appreciate that, dude. Thank you so much for hopping on. Again, congrats. Recent engagement too, and then also a partnership. So good things happening, bro. Appreciate you
Awesome.
hopping on, taking time, man.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man.